Hey, dude.
Hey.
We are officially live in the green
Wow,
room.
thank you.
Yeah, we just jumped. It's all good.
We just got birthday.
What was that? Sorry, you cut out.
We just got done celebrating my daughter's birthday, so I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. Happy birthday.
Yes.
That is what you said, right? You said birthday, right?
Yes, it is
Okay.
her Harry Potter birthday. It's she turns 11.
Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome.
We had a good time.
Excellent, dude.
Yeah, it was really nice.
So how are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. It was a busy day. Got a fair amount done. Have a bunch more to do for the Castle Chat for this next week. More videos to record for our upcoming events. Lots going on.
Right on, man. Good deal.
Yeah.
I will say it has been a busy week. I'm always surprised when we get to Thursday and I'm like, how did we get here?
Right?
Like, I'm not going to lie. It feels like it was Monday. We're already here at a Thursday.
I know. It is surreal. By the way, your audio cut out just a little bit there for a second, so I'm not sure what happened, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's all good. Yeah, no, it has been a wild week. Actually, it's funny. My wife and I were texting. We're going out of town. Not really out of town on Saturday. But our son is staying with her mom for the night. And we have a hotel room up in Sonoma County. And we're like already planning, like, you know what? I think we're gonna hit up a brewery and see if friends are around. And she's like, they have bird scooters and stuff in the town we're going to, and which is very near where you used to live. I'm like, babe, we have two. We bought ourselves for Christmas last year. Let's just take those with us, and we'll just. She's like, that's a great idea. So this weekend we're gonna go up to this town. We're gonna do this thing midday. Rye's gonna be with her mom for the night. We're gonna go stay at the hotel, and like we're gonna get on our scooters and ride the 2 or 3 miles to a brewery and just tell a bunch of folks, if you're around, come hang out. Otherwise, it's fine. We're gonna hang out. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That is awesome. I've always wanted to do that and like also do like a bike tour of like breweries and wineries. Like,
oh my gosh, right?
I keep seeing stuff like that. And by the way, I understand this is the Kessel Chat. It's like the Chablis chat right now. But yeah, like a more
or hazy
I'm
IPA chat. Whatever.
exactly. Like super hazy IPA, double IPA, chocolate stout chat. But yeah, I'm just gonna say that I'm like really excited about. It seems that the world is going back to somewhat of a normal state, and it was like how even you and I, like, we got to go out and talk about the channel, talk about content that we wanted to build. And we got to do that at an actual place, like not over
with
like
other around other human beings. It was wild. Matter of fact,
exactly.
Matter of fact, so that everyone believes us that we did this. This sitting right here. This came out of it. This poster board right here. I still have all the sticky notes on it from our planning for the Kessel Chat. I'm about ready to put it into like a digital. I think I put it into a Jamboard on Google so we can interact with it digitally. But yeah, no, I have this. This is proof, everybody, that we actually did meet in person. Some of this is handwriting you can read, which is probably Ryan's. Some of it's handwriting you can't, which is mine. But yeah, it was fun. That was good times.
I really do like that we have this cool like evidence that of this chat that we were able to have. And by the way, like, did a total design thinking exercise.
Oh, fantastic.
So for anybody who's out there who's like, yeah, but did they bring sticky notes? Yeah, we brought sticky notes.
Oh yeah.
Was there?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, we didn't dot vote it, but we were pretty close.
We were pretty close. Yeah, I made this stop at Staples ahead of time. I bought poster board. I bought a big packet of. Actually, I'm still using them. They're sitting right here. Hold on. So everyone believes me. I have like one stack. I have like stacks in my drawer of sticky notes that I bought. We used a good chunk of them while we were there. But sticky notes. I bought packs of pens. I brought highlighters. I brought everything. And we're at this brewery, and like I think people around us probably thought something was strange about us because we talked for like we were like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis sitting in sitting in Oxford and just having a couple pints. We sat back and like waxed poetic for like 25, 30 minutes. And then like, all right, let's get the supplies out. And I like laid out poster board on the table and we got sticky notes out. And I think 2 tables around us were the whole time kind of eyeballing what we were doing.
Oh, I mean, like I don't think you're gonna get away with especially now because we were like in an open space and everyone could kind of like hear our conversation. And it was funny because there was a gentleman who was like at the table next to us that then was very curious about, oh, you guys are doing this on YouTube, like tell me about the channel. And so you might be one of the viewers here tonight. But it was a lot of fun just to like hang out. So I'm excited for you and your wife. You guys are going to be able to do that. I am a big proponent of where you feel safe and where if you're ready to venture out into the world. Yeah. Because oh my gosh, like it's still out there, and
we know people. So we know people who are affected by it, so it's not over by any stretch. If you feel comfortable and you live in an area where you feel like you can start, I don't say getting back to normal because what really is normal, to be honest. But if you feel like you can start venturing out to do things that you did in the before times, try to enjoy it as much as you can. Actually, it's funny. So this last weekend was was Mother's Day. And my wife for the longest time, had been wanting to go play tourist in San Francisco. She's grown up in the Bay Area all her life. And she's like, I want to go play tourist. I've been wanting to do this forever. Okay.
That's cool.
So we did breakfast, made breakfast at home, got our stuff together. We drove down because we live in the East Bay. So we drove down to Oakland, down to Jack London Square, parked, got on the ferry, took the ferry to the ferry building. It's only the second time, actually, it's only the second time ever that I've been on a ferry going to the ferry building. So like pulling up to the back of the ferry building from the water side. It was my first time. It was the first time having our son do the same thing. So we pulled up and we paid for one of the big red buses, the double stacker buses you get on, and we did it. And it was, you know what? It was a lot of fun because you know that no matter what, it's going to make the same loop all day long. You can get on wherever the hop on, hop off. You can get on wherever you want to. And the first place we walked through walked through the ferry building, got coffee, got empanadas, which was amazing. Like banana, it was like banana cream or a banana with caramel empanadas. Oh God, it was fantastic.
Oh man,
my hands were hurting. It was dripping on my hands. It was amazing. Anyway, we left the place and got on the bus, and the first stop that we made was the Painted Ladies. I've never seen them in person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it from a kid, from Full House and pictures and touristy things, but I've never been there. I'm like, I don't even know where it is in the city. So we got on the bus, and my son, at the end of the day, my son said, when I asked him, what was your favorite part of the day? He goes, oh, the bus. Because he just got to look out the windows and look at he didn't want to be up top because it was too cold outside and too windy. But inside, and at one point, they have the headphones where you can put on and they have like multiple channels and you can listen to like a tour guide talking on recording the whole time. And he actually wanted to put them in. They wouldn't stay in his ears very well, but he wanted to sit there and listen. He was intently listening 6.5 to what was happening. And it was a blast. We stopped there. We took him to the Haight. We actually walked 20 minutes into the Haight just because we wanted to get some exercise and went to a place and had some lunch, and he passed out at the booth, and it was awesome because he slept for like 25 minutes in the booth, which was amazing. And then we took him through a tour of the Haight, and then we took the bus back, and it was a really fun day. It was nice to just you don't realize little things like that like, oh, that's touristy. And then you do it like, oh, there's actually a reason why people love doing this. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they're there. I will say that I was just recently in San Francisco, again, like something that I haven't been able to do since the pandemic. And my brother and I went to opening day at the San Francisco Giants. Mm-hmm. By the way, if there's a Dodger fan on the Kessel chat, we don't need you.
As I raise my hand.
No,
I say it. I don't watch sports at all, like ever. Like I've gone to a few Giants games simply because when I was still in sales, like that was the thing we did is like after. I don't watch sports. I don't watch games. I don't. They don't do anything for me. But I grew up in Southern California, and I grew up with my dad taking me to Dodger Stadium. Many times a year, and the cheap seats, but literally it was the cheap seats as in like the highest possible bleachers you can get, where my dad would bring a radio so we could listen to Vince Scully, not a wind up, but like a small AM radio, so we could listen to Vince Scully talk about the game because you couldn't see the game, like it's so far away down. Like, and all we would get, he's like, here's your peanuts, and we get some popcorn or a Dodger dogs and peanuts, and that's all he would. Because my parents couldn't afford a lot. So the cheapest seats with a Dodger dog and some popcorn and maybe a drink, and then we'd have a little radio, and we just sit up there almost by ourselves and just listen to the game. So I say I'm a Dodger fan in so much that like I have a lot of really fond memories of Echo Park, but outside of that, I don't actually. I have no affinity for any particular team.
I love when people have that genuine fan connection. Like I have some very fond memories of being at the Stick when I was a kid, and also having the exact same experience. We got the nosebleeds and we brought binoculars, and I remember even as a kid thinking we could probably see the game better at home. Like we could not see the game, you know? And, but I have such I don't know, great memories of that. But that said, I will say in a near Trek to Wars type fight is San Francisco Giants and LA Dodgers fans. But I will say this, I just got off the phone with her because my nephew's birthday is also today. It's my daughter's birthday and my nephew's birthday. And, we were just wishing him a happy birthday. And my sister-in-law, my brother has, dyed in the wool, huge fan, of the Giants. Again, took him for his birthday to opening day. We sat right behind Mark Ibanez, who is a famed
that sounds
sports
like a person
in the Bay Area. Oh, it was amazing. No, it was like unreal. Like, and people were coming over and like shaking his hand because he had just retired after 43 years. And so Mark Ibanez was there. Like it was like an amazing experience. People parachuted inside of the stadium. And as much of a Giants fan as my brother is, my sister-in-law, she's a legit, bleeds Dodger blue Dodger fan. And I always like that. What I don't like is the opposite of the story you told, which is front runners. I loved it when the Giants went on a streak. Again, this is the Kessel Chat. Thank you to our viewers who are like, I tune in for Star Wars and now I'm getting baseball, but I'll just say this. I'm a big fan of people that enjoy a thing that they like, but a front runner in, that can impact fans is the thing that I always have an issue with, which is when the Giants were winning all the World Series, suddenly everybody I knew was a Giants fan. And my brother and I were trying to get to go and see the World Series, which was like a dream of ours. And we couldn't even get standing room only tickets. Like I'm not joking around. It was just insane. It was because everybody came out of the woodwork and was like, I'm a Giants fan. And I know the Dodgers have the same issue. It's just like the Lakers. You're never going to find a front runner Sacramento Kings fan though.
That's true.
As a Sacramentan, no Kings front runners. Being a Kings fan is an exercise in, I don't know, like punishment, just
self-flagellation.
Yes, exactly. Which at times that's how it is with Star Trek. So
exactly, and I will say, if you tune into Kessel Chat, I mean, thanks everyone for being here. Tuning into Kessel Chat is all about stories. We tell stories here, like we talk about storytelling. That's what we do here. We talk about Star Wars and Star Trek and a lot of other fandoms, and sports is a type of fandom, and we're telling stories. So I think it fits. I do. If I think anything is a fandom, and I hate to say it this way, Jeff, because I know that we often talk about like we don't like this in fandoms, but I always feel if there is a versus, there's a fandom. That is true.
If there is like who is it versus, it's like, oh yeah, that's a fandom.
I mean, I feel like you could even say that sports radio, listening to commentators, is basically fan fiction.
Oh yeah, I mean, like all you do is sit down and talk about what ifs and what could have been.
You know what I would do if I was out there? You'd break your leg, is what you would do. Like you would be winded before you got to first base, and you would cry because you're in pain. Like that's what would happen. So shush.
Yeah. If I was directing that episode of Boba Fett, the book, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have had him spin around. But I wouldn't have had him spin around.
No. All right. Why don't we get into it, and then we'll do some more versus stuff tonight. Hang tight, everybody. We're here, and there's
hey everybody.
That little note that's up there. Oh man, I'm very curious to see what sort of triggering that does to most people. I'm very curious because people haven't tuned in. First off, thank you everyone for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. And if you're catching us on the replay, huge thank you for coming back and watching us on the replay. Really appreciate that. if you've been keeping up with our Road to Kenobi series, we've been talking every week about things related to either Obi-Wan or the fandom that kind of in fan fiction, in the fandom that gets us towards and kind of leads us up to what we hope to see and may expect to see in the Obi-Wan show here in just a couple of weeks. I mean, it's not that far away at this point. So tonight we thought we'd do something just a little interesting because Ryan has brought up this point multiple times across the show. And I love it about Obi-Wan basically being a villain. And so we thought tonight
he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy. We thought tonight what we'd dive into is, hero or villain. And of course, there's never just two sides. It is not binary. As much as the Sith or the Jedi would love to make it sound that way, nothing is binary. That's just not how the world works. It's not how sentient beings work. It's always the or is really the place that we're going to live tonight. But we thought it'd be interesting to sort of couch this conversation between where does Obi-Wan actually sit? Does he sit on the hero side, on the villain side, or someplace in the middle? And is it moving all the time? So that's kind of the basis for the show. But if you're here, thank you so much. If you're just tuning in, you haven't, please hit the subscribe button. That would be really appreciative. Let me actually see if I've got that. See if I can get that pop right there. Yeah, go down there below and hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Thumbs up, all that good stuff. It definitely helps. We love bringing new stories. As we were talking about in the pre-show, we did a lot of work here a few weeks back to do some planning for the future. And we're in a kind of a busy time for Ryan and I at work right now. There's a lot going on for a big event that we have coming up. So we're probably going to pick some of this stuff up towards the end of June. But our plan is to put together a lot more sort of static videos you'll find in the feed down below, and still this regular weekly live stream, but also some additional videos and content we want to put together. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming soon. But for tonight, I don't want to say we got some spiciness, but we definitely got some stuff to talk about tonight. And Kenobi's only a couple of weeks away. So Ryan, I'm going to hand it to you to sort of like set the stage for everyone tonight about what we're really talking about.
So I've been thinking about this, and I feel like this could be summed up very easily, which is Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith says to Anakin, only a Sith deals in absolutes. And that is an absolute. Thus, Obi-Wan is a Sith. Point made. He is definitely a villain. But in all seriousness, Obi-Wan is a character that's like really complex. And I understand that a lot of that complexity too is because as a character, he was like never. He was, in the original movie script for Star Wars, he was supposed to survive. And Alec Guinness was like, no, I don't want to make it. Like, make sure I disappear. And then they were like, literally disappear? Because we will literally make you disappear. And so Alec Guinness kind of changes the framework of the Obi-Wan character. And then they brought him back for Empire. They brought him back for Jedi. There were missing story elements. So I understand how the character himself was probably not built to be so villainous. Like in totally 100% the way that Dumbledore is. Dumbledore is conceived as a near villainous character, raising Harry to make sure that he is slaughtered, as Snape says, at the right time. Fortunately, it all works out for Harry Potter. Spoilers for Harry Potter. But Obi-Wan's characterization changes. He's just this kind of old crazy hermit who introduces Luke to the Force. But because the story changes from the way that it was written in 1977 to what's revealed in Empire Strikes Back, to ultimately the fact that they have to deal with a plot hole that Irvin Kershner introduced in Empire Strikes Back by saying there is another. They just threw that out there because they wanted to make sure that Luke was in real danger for Empire. Obi-Wan is this person that keeps having to go back and re-explain himself to the point where he literally tells Luke, yeah, truth's whatever we make it. That's the line of a villain. The line of a villain is there's no hard truths. And so I have long felt this, that Obi-Wan is a character that while he does heroic things, and there are a lot of people that do heroic things, you separate the deeds from the man, and you start to see like, oh wow, this guy's like manipulating Luke for like 15 years, from little kid to now he's an adult, and he's only ever feeding information to him as he needs it. And I feel like Owen Lars is right, which is you want to train Luke because you trained his father so well. I think I think the Obi-Wan is a bit of a gray character. I know he wasn't probably written originally to be that way, but again, yes, exactly. Again, I would say that anytime like Jeff, again, I'm just gonna give you an example. Like if someone you were talking to who you trust told you a bunch of lies about your family and everything else, and then you confronted them on those lies, and they were like, oh, well, I guess I have to tell you about this now. You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father. Yeah, well, yeah, so I made that up. I made that 100% up. And then he's got other information, and he doesn't give it to Luke until Luke says, Yoda said there was another. And then he's like, ah, crap, you know that? Well, yeah, you got a twin sister. I mean, in every one of these, Obi-Wan has some questionable, very
when
questionable
the response is something
behavior.
like, "Oh, wait, oh, you meant the true fact." Okay, yeah, got you. Okay, what?
You want the half of the real truth. So
Yeah,
so
half
yeah,
it.
you can say it's like a
Well,
crime.
what I told you is more like an alternate fact.
Yeah,
if I could use some modern language, an alternate fact, because that's a thing.
yeah, I feel like it's more like I like Obi-Wan's a really complex character, and like I said, I get it. Like there's issues in the writing that the character is actually resolving, but when you then see it, like the context of that, it's like oof. Yeah, this guy is lying to you, Luke. There's got to be a point where Luke's like, I don't know if I can trust you, and he's openly telling him, you can't save your father, you have to kill him. And everybody is telling him that. Everybody's saying you have to kill him. And I keep thinking of Aang in the last Airbender, when everyone's saying, "Oh, you got to kill Fire Lord Ozai, you got to kill Fire Lord Ozai," and Aang says, "No, I'm going to do this my way." And even to his own Obi-Wan, Roku, who doesn't lie to him, but maybe just doesn't give him the whole truth until literally right before he has to fight the Fire Lord. It is one of those things where I like the characterization of Luke and Aang, because they're willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. Obi-Wan is like, yeah, I'm only going to tell you the truth when you need to know it, at the times you need to know it.
And what's interesting about, several bits to unpack from what you just said. What's interesting about that piece is that, yes, that's exactly what he did. He only gave the truth when he was either cornered into having to give it, or like stepped into it like, crap, I guess I have to say this now. What's also interesting is, and you've used the term gaslight before, because not only has he not told the truth or told a lie, oops, yeah, sorry, that was just a flat out lie, but multiple times he uses the sort of alternate perspective mode, the more manipulative version of that, of like, oh, Darth Vader killed your father.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sorry, but I fought with your father in the Clone Wars, and then Darth Vader killed him. It's like, you're not totally lying to him, because psychologically that may be true to a point, but you're definitely implying something very particular, unless this person, like Luke, goes, wait, hold on, are they two different people? Or are they? And he wouldn't know. So unless you had a reason, so he's very much manipulated him to get him where he wants to go. And I find it fascinating, because something you just said is when Obi-Wan brings up the idea that like your father's dead, or he is your father, but you can't save him. You just have to kill him. You have to do this. It's like, oh, really interesting, because Obi-Wan, I thought only the Sith dealt in absolutes. You're telling me that the only option is that I have to do this. But wait,
that's what I mean.
But wait, I thought you told my dad. some time ago that I don't know yet, but like you told my dad some time ago that only Sith deal in absolutes. So what you doing, buddy? Because
Yeah.
like you've decided maybe you've been alone a little too long on this desert planet. I know maybe Tatooine's kind of got to you. It's what everyone talks about, but like you've just decided that the only choice is this. And even Yoda, I'm going to be fair here. Like even Yoda behaves that way too. Because even
Yes.
when the comment comes up says no, Yoda says no, there is another. When that whole conversation comes up, it's like he's resigned to the fate that has to befall Darth Vader is he has to die. And whether Luke does it or the other, Luke's sister does it, that's the fate that Darth Vader has to endure. No matter what. It's like, well, I thought you two, Yoda especially, like have been around enough to know that that's not how this stuff works. It's never just one thing or the other. So I've always kind of wondered that, but I never really thought about it like in specific until you and I started doing this show, and it really made me think. Wait a second here. Wait, what are these two actually doing? Like maybe they need to stop and be like gut checked by somebody else a little bit.
So to put this in perspective, you know who's a character that tells Luke the truth literally every time he meets him?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Darth Vader tells Luke the truth every single time they talk to each other. When they're talking the first time, he even tells him, he's like, and by the way, Luke has like this amazing line. It's the first time they're in Cloud City together. And he even tells him, he's like, you can feel you're strong with the Force, but you're not a Jedi yet. And he's telling him, he even compliments him. You've learned much, young one. And then Luke's got the best line in Empire, which is, you'll find out I'm full of surprises. And so then he's fighting with Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is taunting him, but he's also informing him, which Luke is just becoming a student of what the dark side of the Force is and the light side of the Force is. He's starting to realize that he's in over his head, and Darth Vader's pretty much telling him that, and then shows him he's in over his head by throwing a bunch of stuff at him. Mm-hmm. But the thing that always bothered me about this was Luke takes off on the X-Wing from Dagobah. Okay? Nobody says to Luke the real truth, which would have given him pause, by the way, which would have been like, whoa, wait, what are you saying? And they're like, no, don't you get it? They're doing this to drag you out there because you're our only hope. And then he would have been like, what are you talking about? And then they would have been like, well, Darth Vader's your dad. The Emperor manipulated him. Yoda and we witnessed the devastation of our entire order. That's why we're crazy now. Yoda, he chews on that cane. He used to live in a house. Now
the dude has fever dreams on Dagobah for chewing on a cane and sitting outside of a force nexus. Yeah. I mean, what's going to happen to you after 25, 30 years of that?
This is what I'm saying. They're like crazy. They're crazy now, right? And they could have been like, what is it? Like I don't know if they're witches or fairies. I think they're fairies from like Sleeping Beauty that are raising Aurora.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why I'm bringing this because I just got done watching a whole like Disney Princess marathon.
You're talking about the fairies from Maleficent.
Oh, or what? Yes, exactly.
Oh, is that what
yes,
you meant?
And
yes.
The Sleeping Beauty, essentially.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Sorry.
So in that, that's what their role is they're these protectors and upbringers, but at the same time, again, 100%, and it's keeping truths from Luke. But if they really wanted to stop him, what would have stopped Luke more leaving on that X-wing than hey, like your dad is Darth Vader? What? Yeah, so that's why we're so worried about you leaving
say that
now.
Your dad is Darth Vader.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, boom. So now Luke leaves Dagobah. He's on his X-Wing. He gets to Cloud City. People are shooting at him. Leia's yelling, it's a trap. Luke still's like, yeah, I'm just going to go with this. And then he confronts Darth Vader. And then he starts fighting Darth Vader. and while he's fighting him, think about it this way. Luke, and this is for anybody that didn't grow up already knowing that Darth Vader was Luke's father, which unfortunately I always knew that. But I've put myself in those shoes. Luke's fighting Darth Vader, and he's thinking, this is the man that killed my father. This is the man that killed Obi-Wan. This is the man that has tortured and hurt my friends. This person is the villain of my life. He killed Biggs. He is the villain of my life. You're the man that killed my father. The start of all of this. And so then, to not give Luke this information, for him to go and face Vader. And again, Vader's the only one that tells him the truth. He tells him, the Emperor is essentially like aware of you, and you will defeat him. He has foreseen this. You don't know how powerful the dark side is. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. Think about how wildly silly Luke has to feel much later when he's getting his robot hand. When he's like, did I literally tell that guy, oh, Obi-Wan told me enough. He told me you killed him. And to then be told, no, I am your father. And that, search your feelings, this to be true. That is a big reveal. Again, Vader, when they run into each other on Endor, he's the only one that tells him the truth the whole time. I can't betray my master. I was, there is no hope for me. Like he's telling Luke, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. You don't know the power of, I must obey my master. He seems hurt when Luke says that my father is truly dead. Obi-Wan at no time expresses those emotions. The best thing Obi-Wan does is he becomes a Force ghost, but under the premise of knowing he will not die. He's not going to perish. He says to Vader, even if you strike me down, I'm going to become more powerful than you can imagine. So even his sacrifice is one where it's like, yeah, but I hedged my bet there, guys. I'm going to be a cool ghost.
Yeah. It's fascinating. As you were talking about this, I was remembering something that, in this statement, in what you just said about Vader always telling him the truth, or throughout the whole movie series we see, he tells him the truth. The Sith tell the truth. That like the Jedi and the Sith, and no one, like they don't want to admit this, but the Jedi and the Sith literally are identical in what they do. Up to a very tiny, only to a tiny little nuance. The Sith tell the truth, yet leave out the context. So They tell you the truth, but they leave out that little bit of nuance that might help you go, yeah, you're right, but there's this other thing here too that makes the rightness or the accuracy of your statement play out a little differently than the way you're making it sound. Like, it's sort of like saying the sentence and putting the emphasis on this word or on this word. That emphasis change makes a whole difference in what that sentence actually means, or what you're intuiting that sentence to mean. So the Sith tell the truth. They just leave out some context. Whereas the Jedi also tell the truth, and they leave out context, because what they're trying to do is they always take the approach of like, I want to teach you. And I'm not going to teach you by telling you something, because that's not knowledge, that's memorization. That's fair, but they do the same thing. They tell you a certain amount of information so that you hopefully can go learn that. The problem with it is, if you don't know how to learn that thing, or don't understand what they're trying to accomplish for you, they're trying to do for you, you still end up in the same place, which is you don't understand. And either way, you're in a place where your core, the things that I've mentioned this before, like the things that are the most comfortable for you is where you're going to fall back on. And if you're a person or a sentient being that is very comfortable in anger and fear and frustration because of your upbringing or where you came from, the planet you've been on, war, whatever it happens to be, whatever things you've been used to in your life, whether you would say the words "I'm comfortable with that" or not, that's a comfort zone for you because you're used to it. It's familiar. It's the familiar to you. Then you're probably going to fall back on that, and you're going to end up probably falling to the dark side, because it's really easy to succumb to that, because anger and fear are such easy base emotions for anybody to attach themselves to. It is really, really hard, as anybody knows. It's really hard to attach yourselves to like, I'm just going to let that all go. Like that is never an easy, I don't care who says, I just do it and it's not a big deal. Like that's not true. Like it's hard for everybody to do that. Some people have more practice at it, but it takes a lot of work and practice to get there. And so I feel like in what we're describing here that the Jedi are just, in this case, Obi-Wan, they're just as villainous as the Sith. The only difference is the Sith do it intentionally. The Jedi do it out of negligence. And I don't think the Jedi realize holistically that they're doing this out of negligence. They could be more effective as teachers and as guides if they did exactly what you described. Okay, Luke, hold on. Before you go, let's just hang on a sec. Let's just sit down for a sec.
Yeah,
Let us
we gotta tell you some stuff, man.
We got some stuff to just, here's a beverage, sit down, let's go through this. And then after that, let's see how you feel about just flying off to Bespin and doing some stuff and things. Like, hang on. And honestly, I think that would have been a more interesting story for Luke and redemption arc for Darth Vader. Because then what we would see is Luke actually believing, if he still went to Vader and did the same things he did in Return of the Jedi, then you'd really believe it. They're like, no, I believe I can help you because I'm your son, and I really do believe I can save you. Like, people, like, I could connect with that. Like, as a person who has a father who has a child, like, I could connect with, wow, that's a real connection. But because he never gets that information until it's way, way late in the game, and he gets it in drips and drops here and there, there's no real chance of actually having a strong connection with Vader so that when he does get redeemed at the very, very end, yeah, it feels good, but it could have been even more impactful had Luke known more walking it and made that decision on his own. Like, you told me all this. I'm making the call to try to save my dad. I don't care what you all say. I understand that. I'm going to try to save my dad. And then the emotion would like hit even harder at that point, I think.
No, I actually think that's why they did that turn in Jedi. That Luke turns himself in and surrenders himself to his father because he says to him, you didn't turn me over to your emperor then. I know you won't turn me over now. And he's like, yeah, I still am going to do this. And that's actually the really sad moment. And then the emperor kind of sits there and baits Luke and baits Luke. Luke also has the best line in Jedi, which is "Soon I'll be dead and you with me." Like that's such a hardcore line. I think they trade like barbs back and forth. Like your overconfidence,
your faith in your friends is yours.
Yeah, your faith in your friends is yours. And that's what I always thought was the difference between like the Jedi and the Sith was like, it was like the Jedi are faithful to a fault and the Sith are like overconfident to a fault.
They're over self-confident to a fault.
Yes,
because
exactly.
they believe they're so self-centered by nature that it creates faults because they can only rely on themselves. They can't rely on anybody else.
That's right. And so it's just this like really great like set of scenes, but I think that you get the payoff that you're talking about when Vader, in an attempt to really goad Luke into facing him, because the Star Wars story rhymes, as George Lucas says, and he's gonna like Dooku his way to another apprentice, a much younger apprentice. He is trying to goat Luke into killing Vader, and Vader, sensing what that is also trying to get involved. But I think that the problem with Obi-Wan is that Obi-Wan does the same set of things that that the Emperor is doing. Like, again, Vader tells Luke all the truth all the time. Like, it's really hard. It's hard to find when Vader is telling a lie. In fact, that's why when he's dying, it means something when he says, you were right about me. You were right. And his last words are, tell your sister you were right. Like that's a poignant line because, again, this is a character that's only ever told Luke and the audience the truth. The Emperor and Obi-Wan share a lot of similarities, and they're trying to goad an action out of Luke, and that includes even Obi-Wan saying something about the Emperor. He says the Emperor knew, as I did, that if Anakin was to have any offspring, they would be a threat to him. That's a strange thing for Obi-Wan to be like, yeah, me and the Emperor, had the same opinion. And that the Emperor sees Luke as a threat, and Obi-Wan, knowing that the Emperor sees him as a threat, is like, ooh, cool. So Luke's going to be a threat to the Emperor. And again, it's not in a because Luke, the threat you pose is that you could relinquish control over Darth Vader and he'll revert to Anakin Skywalker because I don't know, play any 1980s love ballad. Love is the strongest thing or whatever, right? Yeah, exactly, right? And so love is the thing that like Obi-Wan isn't telling Luke. He's not like, yeah, actually, Luke, if you were to go to your dad, he could not kill you. Luke, he can't kill you. But instead he's like, no, you got to go kill your dad. That's the only thing that will bring, because there's a problem that I've always had with Obi-Wan. He doesn't seem to want justice. He seems to want vengeance. And let me give you some quick examples of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan goes to Naboo and he fights Darth Maul with Qui-Gon. He gets he gets knocked off bridges. He gets caught by laser beams. It is not a good time for Obi-Wan. Then he witnesses Qui-Gon dying. Now we cut away from Obi-Wan. We see other action, and then we cut back. And this is the little drum beat, boom, 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 boom. And what do we see Obi-Wan doing? Dude's like getting ready like it's a boxing match. Where's that whole, no, the Force is this calming thing, and it flows through us and bites us. No, he's ready to take it to Darth Maul. He runs out once the laser beams part, and he is just throwing everything at Darth Maul. And in fact, if you played the Xbox video game Obi-Wan, you would know you actually have to kind of bleed over almost to the dark side to be able to defeat Darth Maul. And that's exactly what Obi-Wan's doing. Does he want justice? No, he wants revenge. And you know it because when he gets kicked in that hole and he has to zoom up and over Darth Maul, does he cut off his arm or disarm him somehow? No, he cuts him in half. It's like he's after vengeance. He's not after justice. And I think you can see the same thing in because he doesn't want to kill Dooku. That he wants justice. Because Dooku really hasn't done anything to him. But he wants vengeance against Darth Maul. He wants vengeance against Darth Vader.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I hadn't even thought about that in that way. But yeah, he is, and it seems like he's acting from a sense of vengeance or a source of frustration and anger in everything that he asks Luke to do or manipulates Luke into doing throughout the entire trilogy. Sorry, this is going back to something you said a minute ago, but I wrote down a note when you were talking that about Darth Vader always telling the truth. And actually, I was even remembering, like, for a second, like, where is there a time when he doesn't tell the truth to anybody? And like even in episode 4, when he talks to Leia on the Tantive, when he catches up with him, it catches up with her and her crew. He even says to her, "You are part of a rebel alliance and a traitor. Take her away." And I'm like, she's part of a rebel alliance. He's not lying. And he says, "You are a traitor." Well, whether she likes it or not, she is the daughter of an imperial senator and the monarch of their planet. And she has been part of the Imperial Senate. So technically, whether she would like you agree with it or not, she has aligned herself with the Empire. Now, the purpose of it is to try to fix it from the inside and also be a rebel. But she is both. She is, and so like he's actually not lying. He's not saying anything that's untrue. Like she technically is a traitor. Whether like I don't really believe in it, yeah, but you have been doing that for a while. So yes, you are part of a rebel alliance, and I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. Like. All fingers point to he is not he never lies. He says exactly the truth. He does leave out a lot of context, things that would actually help you see the situation just a little bit differently and different enough to make it be a very different situation. But coming back to your point, I had never thought about Obi-Wan I thought about him in that moment getting really amped up and looking at Darth Maul. He expresses in his face that he is frustrated and he's got other emotions going on. But I never really thought about it as in like him actually tapping into the dark side to be able to defeat Darth Maul, which is probably what ends up being the linchpin for Darth Maul in that situation. That because even in it's one of the comic books, he shows up on Naboo early. And he is walking the halls. Everyone is like scrambling and getting into fires, all these things happening. So he's kind of just taking the advantage of all the chaos to wander around that palace and those spaces to find the perfect place to engage with them so that they're at a disadvantage and he is at an advantage. His martial skills can be like brought to full bear. And he even plans to lead them to that room so that he can separate the two of them from each other, because he knows that if he wants to win the fight overall, he's going to have to separate the two together. Like, he won't be able to defeat both of them together. But I don't think he planned on Obi-Wan embracing those emotions to the degree that he did. And it probably surprised him. Now, he did catch Obi-Wan off guard and fight him really well because his martial skills are far exceeds Obi-Wan or even Qui-Gon Jinn.
He also turns the dark side back on him because he's able to push him back very easily because Obi-Wan is filled with the dark side. And so he's able to knock him back. I'm not joking around. This has always been my theory. Because if you want to see what the light side looks like before a fight, it's Qui-Gon. What does Qui-Gon do? He gets down. He meditates. He meditates. Because he's like, oh no, I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me. And the Force
is with me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? And so he's like, I'm gonna meditate because Qui-Gon's like, I don't need to win. I'm one with the Force. The Force is gonna the Force.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Yes,
exactly. Because I'm gonna surrender myself to the Force. Obi-Wan's like, you just killed my master. I'm gonna kill you, and that's what he does.
Yes, it's interesting because, thinking about it from that perspective, I think the other part of that is because Obi-Wan has not embraced the dark side. And I know that the Plagueis novel is technically not canon anymore, but in that, there's a lot of conversation from Plagueis about the dark side either rewards you or takes a toll. And it depends on what the dark side wants at a given point in time. Yeah. And in that moment, the dark side doesn't like being, according to the Plagueis novel, sorry, it's legends, I understand that. But it's an interesting way to think about this, that the dark side doesn't like to be tapped into just for the sake of doing it. It wants you to fully embrace the dark side and become immersed in and let the dark side flow through you at all times. Maul has done that. And we've seen it over and over again in comic books, in other books, multiple other books, in the Clone Wars, in Rebels. Like, we've seen it everywhere. Like, he has fully embraced it. Obi-Wan has not. He is just tapping into it through raw base emotion, which will only get a being this far in using it. And the toll will be extra heavy because you have not fully embraced the dark side. So Maul, I think, is also able to put that dark side back against him, and Obi-Wan doesn't know how to handle it because he's not in tune with the dark side. He's in tune with the light, but he tapped into it enough just to get some raw strength. But he doesn't know what to do with it at that point. He's not trained for that. That's not what he's part of. So he struggles. He's able to get knocked back and you see him even when he's hanging there. He has to recenter himself at some point, or else he will not be able to tap into the light side of the Force to do the thing he needs to do at the end, which is push himself up, propel himself up, and the final action. Now, he didn't need to do the final action of cutting him in half. He could have flipped over him and used the Force, or just physically shoved Darth Maul, and it would have been fine. Yeah. But he took the extra step of Force grabbing a lightsaber and cutting him in half, which is, to your point, even though he uses the light side and taps into it to get up, the vengeance is still there.
Yeah, he was like, oh, when I do my flip over him, I'm going to make sure I have a lightsaber, so I cut that dude in half. And again, he's like, I'm cutting him in half. So that's a thing. Now, I always like to compare that against other things that happen because it teaches you a lot about the characterization. So when they fight Dooku, for example, Obi-Wan and Anakin's like, I'm taking him now. And he does exactly what Obi-Wan does. He runs at him. So anytime the dark side meets the dark side, the more superior one wins. And so what does he do? He gets hit by blue lightning. And Anakin gets fried, and he's set aside. Obi-Wan is patient, and he lets the fight come to him. Unfortunately, he can't defeat Dooku, and he gets kind of beat up, and then Yoda shows up. And Yoda They do their little wizards battle for a little while, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna have a lightsaber fight. That's fine, we can do that. And then it's just it's very even-handed until Dooku is going to sacrifice Obi-Wan and Anakin, and as a true light side person, Yoda reaches out and
because
and
the fight isn't the important thing for him. As a light side, the fight is not what's important. Saving lives is what's
saving lives is important. Life, yes, exactly. Life in a Fifth Element life way, like life is the most important thing, right? And so you look at that. Then you see Anakin in the same setup with Dooku, and even the Emperor says to him, "Hey, he took your arm, so you took his life. See, it all works out." Anakin gets angry, and he takes advantage of that anger. Luke at no time is after vengeance. After Empire. When Luke goes to Cloud City to fight Darth Vader, he is all vengeance. He's like, I'm gonna get my revenge on you, man. You killed my father. You killed Obi-Wan. You did all these things. When he gets mad and is able to defeat Darth Vader, and as the Emperor, it's your anger that will make you powerful. It's your hatred that will make you powerful. Why does he do it? It's out of protection for his sister. If you won't turn to the dark side, maybe she will. And this is the one thing that Obi-Wan does tell him, that not as the truth, but as a warning, like, oh, hey, your feelings for your sister might be used to serve the Emperor. And Luke then attacks a tormentor. He doesn't attack a villain. He attacks a tormenting parent. And that's a really moving moment. And then Luke fights Vader, cuts off his arm, and then realizes what every child of a tormenting parent hates could happen. They have become that parent. They are now their parent. And so what does he do? He throws the lightsaber aside. And so he's not after vengeance. He's after justice. And he realizes that he's achieved what he feels like is justice, which is he's telling his father and the Emperor, no, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. I'm not gonna turn. You have failed. And so that's like Luke's biggest moment in the entire series, is Luke realizing that I don't have to be the tormentor. I also don't need to be the tool of Obi-Wan to kill my father. I can make my own decisions, and I choose to be a good person. And so I think that's always important. That's the thing that's stuck with me though about Obi-Wan, is that Obi-Wan, if you look at the other big fights, Obi-Wan uses vengeance. He uses revenge in the same way that other characters who turn to the dark side also do. Except in Obi-Wan's case, we kind of just set it aside.
Yeah.
It's what is it in all stories? There's a thing. It's called the lie your character believes. And that's a lie that they believe until the villain tells them the truth or introduces the truth to them. And then it's like eye-opening. It's like the world becomes clear. Neo from the Matrix believes that, everything's just the regular world. Luke in Star Wars believes that he is so heroic that he can't fail, and that he can't die until it's told to him otherwise on Cloud City. Obi-Wan is like the lie that we as the audience believe, and because we want to believe he's a good dude, but really he's not Gandalf. He's Dumbledore. Gandalf tells Bilbo and Frodo all the time the truth. Oh, what's that over there? That's Gollum. That thing has been following us for a while. Also, you probably don't want to kill him, because he could hurt you. He might have a part to play in this story.
He does. To be fair, Gandalf does speak in riddles a lot too.
Yeah, it's true.
He is telling the truth, not from a certain point of view, but in prose. a lot.
Yes.
He's like,
No,
it's like
he
it'd be
does.
like if I talk to you in Beowulf quotes all day long. I may be not lying to you, but it'd be really hard to understand what the hell I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean it's like I if I was Pippin, I'd be like, so Gandalf, is there an afterlife or not, dude? Like this whole Great Rain Curtain,
Pose it to a
what's
far
happening?
green to a far green field and a swift sunrise. That sounds
Yes.
beautiful. What
Yeah.
is it? Do I set foot
Yeah.
on
So,
it? Do I take a
like
boat and sail there and then get off and you hand me a pipe and we're good?
exactly. Like
Or do I actually
feel
physically
yeah.
die and I just believe I'm someplace?
Yeah, I feel better, Gandalf. Don't get me wrong, but just like, could you just tell me the truth, the full truth? But see, again, like Obi-Wan would be like, I don't know, Luke. Like maybe
It was the
there
truth
is.
from a certain point of view.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, like I turned into a ghost. I'm one of like a handful of people that can do that. Am I going to tell you how to do that? I don't know. We'll see. The only thing you need to know about Luke, the relationship that Yoda and Obi-Wan have with Luke, and how Obi-Wan is 100% a villain is at no time does anybody say to Luke, by the way, Luke, don't get cocky and throw your lightsaber aside, because the Emperor could shoot blue lightning out of his fingertips, and it is terrible. I've gotten hit by it. Yoda's gotten hit by it. We've all gotten hit by
It's
this
not
stuff.
fun.
Your dad, yeah, it's the worst. So you can deflect it with your lightsaber, though. So at no time, don't get cocky and throw your lightsaber
Just
aside.
hang it on your belt.
To it.
Just
Yeah.
put it on your belt. Or just unignite it and just hang on to it for a second. It's cool.
If you want to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice yourself. Just don't. That blue lightning is the worst. Nobody warns them. Nobody. Not Yoda. Not anybody. Nobody says that the Emperor, by the way, like he's got crazy powers. Like you can jump really high and you can move stuff with your mind. Really cool. He can shoot lightning from his fingertips. So yeah. Nobody tells Luke that.
No. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Obi-Wan, kind of a bad guy. Kind of a bad guy. And you know what? I just say all this to say for anybody watching, everyone watching in the replay or live, we love Obi-Wan. Like, love the character. He's one of my favorite characters. Always has been. Literally has always been one of my favorite characters. Alec Guinness sitting back, like just stroking his little goatee in the hut in Tatooine. Like, I absolutely love those scenes. Everything about it makes me happy. We do this out of jest and we do this out of love, and I am so excited for the show because we get to see what I'm hoping to see is what I should say. What I'm hoping to see is someone who has been in a place resigned to their fate.
Yes.
This immense faith that he believes, trying to just get along and being put in a position of, I've got to go do something about something that I didn't want to have to do it again. And I'm not, or that I wasn't mentally prepared to have to do it again. Cause I thought I was just going to be here until Luke is older. And that was just going to be how it is. And now he's being challenged to have to do something that he wasn't prepared for. And I hope what we see is far less action, and far more of Obi-Wan trying to run away from action. Like trying to physically avoid it because, one, he doesn't want to give himself away, but more importantly, that he's just not mentally prepared anymore to have fights. And I think that would be really interesting to watch that near the end of the series. Not that at the end he is now prepared and he is resigned, but like at near the end of the series, this short series they're running, what I'm hoping to see is that we see Obi-Wan walk out of the series with sort of you can tell that he's rethinking things. Because what I really want to see is something like he is rethinking his position on this stuff so that when we fast forward to Rebels and we see him in the desert on Tatooine confronting Maul and sending off Ezra Bridger with the not Dewback, but whatever the creature's name is, and he confronts Maul in that situation, what I'm hoping to see is this show give us a lead up to say he is beginning a new journey at the end of the show, and we see that. Like, now I realize I've got to rethink who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing here. Because when we see him in Star Wars Rebels and he confronts Maul and that's over, and then we see the character very briefly in this one episode, he's a different character. He is he has accepted what he's doing. He's here for a purpose, and he's holding to that purpose. He's able to be quiet about it, calm and centered on this one purpose. And I really love that. So I'm hoping this show doesn't show us, I'm here, I'm ready to go, I'm going to be this way for the next 30 years. No, that's not interesting. I want to see you walk out of the things you're dealing with, like with a limp, and kind of walk into the situation like, okay, I made it. I probably need to relook at my life a little bit. Like that's where I'm hoping it leaves off. I really hope it's leaving off like that. So it's like, oh, the emotion you feel as a person is like, I can relate to that because I've been through a situation, and now I realize I need to rethink what I'm doing. And fast forward, I know that I'll be in a place I want to be at, but it's going to take some work to get there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to see more of that emotional journey, and I will also say this: that this was all my fun Star Wars master's thesis discussion. Like I love talking about how Obi-Wan's a villain, but I will say that Obi-Wan was always one of my favorite characters, right up there with R2. And I like I love the actors who play Obi-Wan, including the voice actors that play Obi-Wan. But what Alec Guinness does is magic. Like when Alec Guinness leans back and he says, "I was a Jedi Knight, the same as your father." That is just like, even his delivery. There's no notes in that script that say, "By the way, Darth Vader's his dad," but the line delivery is unreal when he says, "What happened to my father? How did my father die?" And he seems like it's not a, "Oh gosh, this is a really painful story for me to tell you." It's like there's a secret behind his eyes. And I just loved the characterization. So I'm a big fan of this character, and I like to make fun of him for this, that he's a villain and he's a gaslighter. But I think that the thing that I want out of this show that we're so close to seeing now, what is it, 13, 15 days, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, so it's at the end of this month, like 2 weeks away. So the thing that I really want to see out of this is 2 lines in The Return of the Jedi. Just 2. By that time, George Lucas, everybody knows the story. At this point, there's no like, "Oh, hey, guess what? Darth Vader is Luke's father." So he talks about Anakin, and it's the first time Anakin has said Anakin was a good friend. But he says, it's 2 lines. The first, and if you play them backwards, it works the best. Darth Vader says to Luke on Endor, "Obi-Wan once thought as you did." And that's a big deal because it's weird, because right when Obi-Wan gets to Mustafar, he's not trying to save Anakin. He's basically like, as Padme says, "You're going to kill him, aren't you?" And what does Obi-Wan say? Not, "He's my friend and I'm going to try to work it out." He says, "He's become a real threat." Granted, Anakin is a real threat. So Anakin says, or Darth Vader says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you did." And earlier in the movie, Obi-Wan says to Luke, after Luke says, "I want to save him," "He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil." So there has been a change from when last Obi-Wan, when Obi-Wan tries to turn Darth Vader, he's doing what Luke's trying to do. He's trying to turn him back to the good side. So at one point, Obi-Wan must have made that attempt, and it failed so badly that he's like, "No, you can't save your dad. You can't save him. He's more machine now than man. He's twisted and evil." And it's after he becomes a machine. Mm-hmm. So I'm hopeful that that's what we see. I don't need that to be action. I don't need backflipping lightsabers. All I need is that the core of that show is dealing with that fundamental issue, which is the falling out of 2 friends, that one of them now believes the only solution is for you to die. Like, that's hardcore. Yeah. So yeah.
That's intense. Yeah. Oh, this was good. Cathartic. Mm-hmm. Cathartic.
Yes.
Let's get it all out.
Good run. It's a good run.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for being here. We're a little over It's fine. We always go over. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
We're a few minutes over. It's fine. We get the lead up. We're doing the show. I may actually take that next day off just so I can stay up late and watch this because it's going to be a long first couple episodes. So I may even stay up late that night and just watch them and then rewatch them again and do a few things, and it'll be all kinds of good time. But listen, thanks everyone for being here. If you're catching us on the replay, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the little like button. It does really help out the videos. Leave a comment. What do you think about Obi-Wan? Like, does he strike you as a hero or a villain, or how do you view the character? What's your emotional connection with the character? We'd love to hear. Put that in the comments below, and we will catch you next time on the show.
That's right. Hey, thanks everybody.
Night, everyone.